22 June 1941. What happens to a soldier's sanity when the world he steps into is already screaming with the ghosts of those who fell minutes before him? And what if the real horror isn't the enemy ahead, but the truth hidden behind his own commander's impossible orders? On the dawn of Operation Barbarossa, when German troops surged across the Soviet border believing the campaign would collapse within weeks, a medic found himself running through forests thick with smoke and the metallic taste of fear, discovering firsthand why Germany had catastrophically miscalculated. Because beneath the confident speeches and icy strategies lay a battlefield so vast, so merciless, and so haunted that no blueprint of war could ever control it. He watched panzer divisions push forward with terrifying speed, only to be swallowed by distances that stretched into an endless red horizon. And on 29 June, he entered a burned-out village near Minsk, where he saw the first true unraveling of the plan. The bodies of entire families frozen in expressions of terror after sudden artillery strikes. The silence so heavy it felt alive. And he realized the German command had underestimated not just Soviet resilience, but the sheer brutality of a land that consumed armies whole. A place where retreating units scorched their own earth, poisoning wells and booby-trapping barns, so that every step forward felt like stepping into the jaws of something ancient and starving. Days later, on 4 July, he crawled through a shattered trench outside Vitebsk to pull out a wounded officer whose legs had been shredded by a hidden mine. And as he dragged him through the mud, while Soviet shells fell so close they made the ground pulse like a living heartbeat, he understood that Germany's belief in a swift victory had already dissolved into a nightmare of logistical collapse, endless casualties, and an enemy that kept rising from ruins with a ferocity no one in Berlin had predicted. During the retreat near Smolensk in late July, he witnessed frostbitten soldiers hallucinating in the summer heat, the first signs that exhaustion and fear were breaking their minds long before the winter arrived. And on one night, one he never forgot, he passed a field filled with abandoned German vehicles lit only by the moon, each casting long, twisted shadows that made it look as if the dead were reaching from the earth, begging to be remembered. By August, the medic's uniform was permanently stained with dried blood. Soviet snipers ruled the forests like ghosts, and stories spread among the troops of an entire reconnaissance squad wiped out in a single, silent minute near Yelnya, their bodies arranged in a way that made even hardened veterans whisper that the forest itself was hunting them. Yet the command still pushed forward, convinced the Soviet army was moments from collapse, blind to the way their own supply lines were evaporating behind them, blind to the swelling strength of Soviet counterattacks that were beginning to slam into the German front with shocking precision. And on 12 August, as the medic tried desperately to save a young soldier whose lungs were filling with blood after a mortar blast, he heard the boy whisper, "They told us this would be easy," a line that echoed in his mind as the sky turned red with fire, and as he realized that the greatest horror of Barbarossa was not the enemy's brutality, the freezing nights, the starvation, or even the images that would later haunt his sleep, but the crushing truth that the entire invasion had been built on arrogance, miscalculations, and a fatal misunderstanding of Soviet willpower. And as the medic pushed forward yet again into that hellish expanse, he found himself asking the same question every survivor still argues about today. How could anyone believe they could conquer a land that seemed determined to swallow invaders whole?